Georgia Peach Tree, picking sweet, tweet behind the scenes, running down your knees. Water flooding me, feeling, up to my teeth. I looked over to the left. I think we should let it rain tonight. No, I love it when we slip inside. Don't stop loving, got enough supply. Sleep, wake up and repeat. You get every little bit. You ain't never seen a drip like this. Have you not your fingertips? Don't you let a minute slip. Just say you have me. Oh, taste and see. Hope you don't sleep on me. I got good and plenty.
I've been all the spaces in between. It's magic when I place you in the beam. An average day spent all in the sheets. Emphatic when I tell you what you mean to me. Chemistry, intimate memories. Every time I give you all my energy. Emphasis, never sleep.
Never sleep. Say you have me. Oh, taste and see. Hope you don't sleep on me. I got good and plenty. I've seen all this before in my mind. All I ask is take your sweet time. Roam around and see what you find.
Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowances made for fair use for purpose such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips in the balance of the favor of fair use. Welcome back to Blended Healing for part 2 of the Enneagram. And what point are you? Yesterday, we went through the different points of the 9 points of an Enneagram. And I told you to choose one based upon the descriptions that I read. So I hope that you got your pen and paper today, because we're going to do a little exercise and see if you chose the right point. So just to refresh for you, this is, wrong one. This is the personalities that we went over. Okay? The reformer, the helper giver, the achiever performer, the individualist, the romantic, the investigator, the loyalist, the enthusiast, the challenger, protector, and the peacemaker or mediator. Those are the different numbers. Those are the points, the 9 points that we had. So with that being said, let's dig a little deeper and let's just refresh just a bit. So how can you find your Enneagram number without taking a test? Because some of the tests that they have out there, because this is the new trend, personality finder, so to speak. So they have a lot of tests out there that you have to take and go through the apps and yada, yada, yada. But I found a way that you can do it based upon numbers. Real simple. So, how can you find your number? I'm so excited. I want you to know that whatever you chose, I'm dying to see if it lines up because what I chose, well, after I did the test, was not what I thought it was going to be. Ashe? So I know that I'm going to just show you how to do it. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but what is an Enneagram again? It is the ancient system that identifies 9 differently personality types. And these 9 different types are represented by numbers. Each represent a different way that someone views the world or takes in and processes the information and responds to situations. Each personality or number is determined by a motivation, not a behavior. Motivations include a basic passion, sometimes called a sin or a besetting sin, and a basic desire. I'm going to call it a basic desire. For example, if somebody is a 7, right, and their basic passion is gluttony, and their basic desire is happiness, each number has a different besetting desire. And different desires and their viewpoint of the world is determined by those two things. So, an Enneagram is visually represented by a circle with 9 points around the circumference. And each number is connected to 2 other numbers by an arrow. And these arrows represent the dynamic relationship between the numbers. Each number makes a move to one another when it must care for itself, a stress move, and to another number to experience a holistic healing, a security move. Let me give you a picture of an Enneagram. Ooh, child, I can't even get the words out. You see where the hours are? So if you go to 1, 1 goes to 4, 4 goes to 2, 2 goes to 8, 8 goes to 5, 5 goes to 7, 7 goes to 1, right? And then if you go in reverse, 3, let me see, 9 goes to 6, 6 goes to 3, 3 goes back to 9. When you do 7 goes, 8 goes to 5, 5 goes to 7. You see how this is shaping up? That's what a Enneagram looks like in the different corresponding arrows. So what's the purpose of an Enneagram? The purpose is that it's a mask. It is a tool that is used to process the world around yourself that has been put in place at a very early age. The goal is to discern and understand your number and to use that knowledge to remove that mask and become more of who God is calling you to be. Another objective of an Enneagram, aside from maturing beyond the limits of your personality, is to use an Enneagram knowledge to improve relationships with others. Learning another person's work and how their Enneagram type is masking who they are gives you a level of compassion for humanity that you have never had before. So let's get to it. All right. So now You have your number that you chose last night, right? About who you think you are and what motivates you. So that's one thing. Then we looked at the centers, the different heart, the heart center, the mind center, and I believe the heart, the mind, and the body center, or the physical center, and what that correlation is with the numbers. Now, here's another part: the stances. Stances, Stances, stances. And there are 3 stances in an Enneagram: the aggressive stance, the dependent stance, and the withdrawing stance. A person's stance is how they move through the world. And I'm going to give you some of the characteristics of a stance. Listen very closely and see which one of these stances really embodies who you are. Remember, there's 3 stances: aggressive, dependent, or withdrawing. This is what the diagram looks like. Okay. For those of you who may be in an aggressive stance, number 1, you will have the following traits. And you may not have them all, but you may have the majority of them. So listen carefully. Number 1, when you walk into a room, you garner attention quickly without looking like you're putting forth the effort to do so. Number 2, you seem to have a lot of never-ending energy. Number 3, you are skilled at orienting or putting others to your ideals, or you can make them look at their own ideals, okay? Which comes off as you being pushy, and you are excellent at reframing and reshaping situations into a positive light. Number 4, you prefer to say too little over saying too much, and you protect yourself with humor. Number 5, you are upbeat and optimistic and make people feel safe, but don't intuitively connect with the feelings of others. And number 6, you are all about control and feel that other people move too slow for you. That is the characteristics of a person who is aggressive. Going on to the dependent stance, you may display some or all of these traits. Listen carefully. Number 1, you are always thinking what should be done next. Number 2, you place your life reference point outside of yourself and are all about other people. Number 3, you are concerned about your feelings and want to respond to other people in a way that is good for everyone. Number 4, You are good at connecting everyone and everything. And sometimes you link these things together that are not related at all. And number 5, you have trouble with your own boundaries, and people with established boundaries often hurt your feelings. Going on to the withdrawing stance. You may have some or all of these traits. Number 1, you are independent and non aggressive and count on your own strength and knowledge to deal with stressful situations. Number 2, you are aware that there is a lot around you that needs to be done, but that your present doesn't mean or make a difference. Number 3, your inner world is your real world because you don't connect to people easily. Number 4, you handle difficult situations with resentful accommodations. Number 5, you have lots of daydreams and inner thoughts and deal with stress by pulling back and not dealing with it. Now, out of the aggressive, the dependent, or the withdrawing stance, if one of these sounds like you, write it down and set it aside, and we will come back to it in a little bit. So, say for instance, just to let you know, if you are withdrawing, you would write the number 954 on a piece of paper. If you are dependent, you would write the number 126 on a piece of paper. And if you are aggressive, you would write 378 on a piece of paper and put it aside. The next step in trying to determine what your Enneagram is now going through the triads. Just like there is 3 stances, there are also 3 triads in the Enneagram. The head triad, the heart triad, and the gut triad. These triads are determined by which center, your head, your heart, or your gut, filters light through first. An individual in the head triad filters information through their thoughts first before deciding how to react or feel about it. Someone in the heart triad feels information first, then reacts, and then thinks about last. Finally, a person in the gut triad has a gut reaction first, then immediately wants to do something about it, and then thinks about it last. Okay, we're going to go to the head triad first. Listen to the traits and see if this aligns with you. Number 1, make mental connections that are not easily seen by others. Number 2, you live by a specific plan. Number 3, you have no idea how much you are truly valued. Number 4, you keep thinking on something after others have moved on. Number 5, you are suspicious of other people's motives. Number 6, you observe rather than relate. And number 7, you privately worry that you are wrong. The heart triad. You may have some of these traits or all of these traits, but listen closely. If you are in the heart triad, number 1, you believe that connection with others is more important than anything else. Number 2, you worry how you are perceived. Number 3, you play out your emotions by externalizing them, then internalizing them, or you forget them altogether. Number 4, you are familiar with anxiety and how it affects you. Number 5, you have a hard time asking for help. Number 6, you need to be in a relationship in order to feel connected. And lastly, your gut triad. You may have all of these traits or some of these traits. Number 1, you feel the world with your belly and have true gut instincts. Number 2, you try to control both your inner world and your outer world. Number 3, you convert lots of emotions into anger. Number 4, you follow an instinctual hunch. Number 5, you do your part and everybody else's part too. And number six, you want to impact the world and dismiss yourself or others in the process. So after you listen to all of the characteristics of each triad, which one did you choose? That sounds the most like you. If you chose the head triad, write down number 765. If you resonated with the heart triad, write down number 234. If you resonated with the gut triad, write down 891. Okay, write it now. So as you do that, each Enneagram type is a unique combination of one stance and one triad. When you wrote down your number for your stance, and then you wrote down your number for your triad, okay? I'm going to show you mine. When I listened to the examples of the stance, this is what I saw. I was identified as being aggressive. My number was 378. The aggressive stance resonated with me the most. Ashe. So you see, mine is identified in pink. So I wrote that number down 378. When I went to the triads, my triad was the gut triad. As you see in this example, the gut triad was number 891. 891. So how can you know what your number is? Your number, for example, mine was 8. The first thing you do is you write out your aggressive stance number. Mine was 378. Then I identified my gut triad, which was 891. What was the common number in both sequences for me? It was the number 8. 8, as far as the points are concerned, and the motivator is I am a protector personality. Now you try it. Okay. So where are you? If you are a number 9, you would have a withdrawing stance and a gut triad. If you were a number 1, you would have a dependent stance and a gut triad. If you were number 2, you would have a dependent stance and a heart triad. If you were number 3, you have an aggressive stance and a heart triad. If you are number 4, you have a withdrawing stance and a heart triad. If you are number 5, you have a withdrawing stance and a head triad. Number 6, if you are a number 6, you will have a dependent stance and a head triad. If you are a number 7 point, you would have an aggressive stance and a head triad. And finally, if you are a number 8, you would have an aggressive stance and a gut triad. So where are you? I'm going to take myself off so you can see it a little better, okay? Okay, let's move on. So, with that being said, let's remind you of what your personality type is. Remember, mine is an 8. Your personality, if you were a reformer, you are rational, idealistic, you are principled, purposeful, self controlled, and a perfectionist. If you are number 2 point, you are the helper, the giver, the caring, you're demonstrative, you're generous, you're a people pleaser, and you're possessive. If you are a 3 point, you are considered the achiever, the performer. You are success oriented. You are adaptive, excelling, driven, and image conscious. Point number 4, the individualist, the romantic. You are sensitive, withdrawn type, expressive, dramatic, self absorbed, and temperamental. 5 point, the investigator, the observer. You are intense. You are perceptive, innovative. You are secretive and isolated. Number 6, the loyalist or the loyal skeptic. You are committed, securely oriented. You are engaging, responsible, anxious, and suspicious. Number 7 point, the enthusiast, the picture. You are busy, fun loving, spontaneous, versatile, distractible, and scattered. Number 8 point, the challenger or protector. You are powerful, dominating, self confident, decisive, willful, and confrontational. And number 9, the peacemaker, the mediator. You are easygoing, you are receptive, you're reassuring, you're agreeable, and you are complacent. I'm going to remove myself from the screen so you can see it a little bit better. Okay. So, did your numbers match up? Mine did not. Mine did not. I put down yesterday that I was a 2 point. I was a helper giver, and I was not correct. I was not correct. I have some of the tangents of that when you look at the grid again, right? I had 3, 8, and 7. And then I had No, I didn't. Not at all. Wow. I didn't have any of that. I was way off the mark. But I tell you, with this exercise, I feel that it is pretty much on point. I do have that type of personality on some levels. I'm just saying. But I hope you enjoyed this exercise. I was very intrigued by this. So I wanted to bring it to you. You know, I like to bring you some learning stuffs. So I know that this may feel overwhelming for you, but don't worry. You'll get to understand, and that way you can deep dive a little bit more into what point. Like I am an 8 point, so I need to dig a little deeper and see what that means as far as it pertains to me. Because it's all about self discovery and self observation. It's about learning yourself and where you intersect at. But if you want to investigate a little bit more, there's a book out there called The Road Back to You, written by Suzanne Stabile and Ian Crone. Suzanne Stabile, Stabile, and Ian, Ian, last name Crone, Cron, and the book is The Road Back to You. That book is a complete description of each number in detail, including your besetting passion and your main desires of stress and security moves, and also what's on the side of it, the wings. Okay? So, tell me how you like this. And I'll try to bring some more educational things to the table. I love stuff like this. I'm a nerd. I know I'm a nerd. But I love stuff like this. And my goal is that you know, I myself as well as you can do some soul searching and start to understand ourselves as who we are or how we show up in the world and who God is calling us to be. And this can be determined by using this one tool among many of the Enneagram. Like I said, this is the new thing that's out, you know, but it's been around for 1,000 years. You feel me? All right. Listen, I ain't gonna hold you. Thank you for stopping by Blended Healing on today. Be well, stay safe, and I shall see you all very, very soon.